One of the all-time great event video game releases, and continuing to hold up pretty well. Skyrim is one of my favorite games to get lost in. Somehow, the art style of this game remains pretty appealing for me to look at despite the game's age and relatively realistic presentation. The region of Skyrim gives me a great excuse to experience high mountaintops, tundras, and snow-drenched cities, when in reality I would be miserable in those locations. I'm sure I don't need to explain to most of you where the value of Skyrim comes from. Beyond the immersive factor, there is just so much to see and explore. I think one reason this game can remain so favorable for me all these years later is that I never actually had a Skyrim phase, like so many people my age did. I was never addicted to this game. I never played it for hundreds of hours in a short span of time. Because of this, every time I go back to Skyrim, I was all but guaranteed to see something new, experience a new questline, meet new characters, try a new build, and all in all create a new adventure path that constantly prevented the game from feeling stale. Not to mention that core mechanic of the world being inhabited by dragons, and you never know exactly when one's gonna fly over your head, forcing you into an intense boss fight you weren't given a chance to prepare for. As a non-fantasy guy, that sounds like everything a fan of the genre could want. And I may not have gotten to dive into it too deeply yet, but you can play this game in VR, and I find it pretty magical. I was pretty young when Skyrim released, but now as an adult, I can't help but understand how it was completely inevitable for this game to become one of our great classics. So many dreams people had for what video games could be one day were able to be fulfilled by Skyrim in a way that just wouldn't have been technologically possible before. And while that technology may not wow us today, the atmosphere, landscapes, Jeremy Soul's soundtrack, and the excellent balance in mechanics and progression is why Skyrim can be remembered as an all-time great game, rather than just a revered piece of gaming history that no one actually wants to go back to and play, at least without heavily modding the experience. Although not to discount Skyrim's modding scene, one of the most legendary to date.